everyone, and welcome to the Pikeville City Manager's Report. I'm your host, Jill Fraley-Johnson, along with City Manager of Pikeville, Donovan Blackburn, a time when we meet each week to discuss the things happening in and around the city of Pikeville. Today will be no different. We have a lot of things to get to, as always. Seems as though we were just here.
It does.
Talking about all of the great things coming up, but so much is happening that we have to come back and do one quicker than normal.
Absolutely, Jill. I mean, it's amazing. And good day, by the way.
Good day.
It is amazing. Again, there's just so much going forward and a lot of things that are in the works still yet. So, I mean, this is going to be probably one of the busiest years that I can remember in my 10 years in serving in this position.
Seems as though when I look back to January and the different shows that we've done and all of the different things that we've been involved with, it has been a very, very busy 2014 and is only going to pick up, and we'll discuss
Absolutely.
some of the items that are going to make it so busy coming up a little bit later on today. But let's get to it this today. Legislative session just wrapped up. We have got some wonderful elected officials that represent our region in Frankfort, and I know that you work so closely with each of them and want to say your thanks.
Yeah, absolutely. You know, again, Senator Jones, Representative Combs, Representative Hall. You know, I have the opportunity during the session at different times of going down and meeting with my legislators, and and during the legislative session, and you know, the door is always open, and it's just amazing. I mean, even this year, you know, several times we engaged the Speaker of the House, Stumbo. You know, Speaker Stumbo does a wonderful job for Eastern Kentucky and represents the coal fields very well. But when you look at a lot of the things that occurred this session, you know, our legislators were dug in as normal. There's a lot of great legislative acts that came out. You know, obviously the UPike initiative with which will really impact and help these students with their going forward tuition, and then you look at from the city standpoint, we had some legislation with Joint Planning Commission that we were really interested in that made it through, that we got overwhelming support on, and then there was a lot of special projects that were, and I say special, near and dear to our heart, because it really impacts the overall region in a very positive light. So, you know, again, I cannot say enough about these legislators. They do an absolutely outstanding job. I'm proud to call them my legislator and my friend, for that matter. And so very successful and difficult, because anytime, Jill, you go through the budget year, through the legislation, I know it's very, very difficult between, especially when you have a separated House, you know, with the Senate and the House of Representatives. So it's always a challenge, no different than this year, with some key issues on that came up for debate, and that was very highly publicized, and it would appear that our legislators were at the forefront of a lot of those, but they do an outstanding job, and on behalf of the city and the citizens of this region, I just wanted to take a moment to thank them for their hard work and what they've done for this for our community. So they've done a great job.
I think one of the great things about all four of the people that you just mentioned is that, yes, they are in Frankfort, representing our area, but they also have individual jobs. But the great thing is that when they're back here, you see them on the streets, you see them out publicly, you see them in our restaurants when they're home. They live here, and I think that that's just speaks volumes about their the respect that they have for our area, and that they do have such an interest in being here at home, not just in Frankfort.
Well, I mean, I agree with you wholeheartedly, Jill. I mean, you know, both Leslie and Ray, as you said, have had a history and a background within the region prior to going into the Senate and the House. And you know, they were our friends before they were legislators, and they're our friends during the legislative session and during the year, and they'll be our friends afterwards. But these are just great people that we should be very proud of, and again, they take on real leadership roles during the session that I'm extremely proud of them on, and obviously the fruits of their labor coming through this session is evident to that. So we really appreciate them, and they do good work.
Certainly so. One of the things that we always mention when we have our sit-down discussions, like we do every couple of weeks, is commercial air service, and we need to touch on it this time. There have been some things circulating in the media, and I know that you do want to mention briefly what's going on with that.
Well, absolutely, and you know, there's a very big story around this commercial air service piece. And when I say big story, I'm just talking about understanding how long that we have actually been working on this. If you go as far back as to 2006, I think it is, when the county was pursuing commercial air service, 2006, 2007, 2008, there was a lot done there in that time to pursue an air service, to create a subsidy, to basically do the same exact thing that we've done. The difference is the type of service that's being provided, which is some of the holdup right now, meaning that what at that time what was being considered was a 9-passenger plane all the way through. Under that provision through the federal government, they were flying under a certain charter that would only allow them up to 9 passengers. We are pursuing the 139 at this time, and we have Judge Rutherford's support on it fully. But we under the 139, the difference is that 9-passenger issue isn't capped. In order for it to be profitable down the road, meaning be able to self-sustaining so that subsidies aren't needed, we really needed to go after the 139 charter. And the difference is that during the time that we were pursuing commercial air service, there has been a precedent set because of the size of the airport and the type of service that were provided, that a waiver would be granted, not needing this service to pursue 139. Can cite several examples to where that had already been done. The problem is that we have somebody in Washington that somewhat disagrees, and in the DOT, Department of Transportation, and now they're coming back and saying that though there is precedent set and though you can seek a waiver process, that we would feel better that if you went through this process. So now we have an attorney that is working with the DOT and the FAA. Both have been very genuine in wanting to find a quick solution because they want us flying as well. They understand the importance of this service and what it means to the area. And I go back to the study that was done by the Area Development District back again in 2007, I think it was 2006-07, to where it at that time that study showed that there was a need for this as long as the community embraced it. As I mentioned, the county was pursuing a $1.5 million subsidy with Lock Air, which was Air Azul, who flew out of Somerset at that time. Ironically, now what we're pursuing is a $1.5 million subsidy. The subsidy that we're pursuing, I want to make this very, very clear because this is some of the confusion and some of the misknown out there, I guess, is that I want to be very clear for understanding, is that the subsidy that's being provided is, first of all, a $750,000 federal air grant. Okay, and I think it's very important for the public to understand these pieces because of some of the stuff, again, that is being misconstrued in some ways. But there is a $750,000 federal grant that was provided to the city as the applicant. But it's not just a city service. This is a service, again, that a multi-county grant was supported by the majority of the fiscal court. When we applied for the federal dollars, Senator Paul, Senator McConnell both wrote letters of support. Congressman Rogers played a very key and pivotal role in helping us pursue this grant. You'll hear some knocking in the background. I apologize, but they're obviously working in the theater, which we'll talk about in a moment. But again, the $750,000, everybody knew what we were pursuing. The intent, again, it goes back as far as 2005, 6, 7. So we were blessed enough, instead of that $750 being applied somewhere in some other part of this country, it was granted to the city, with the partners being at that time the airport board, and still today the Southeast Chamber of Commerce and the City of Pikeville. It's no secret that when we pursued the service that we have 5 of the 6 airport board members voted in favor of, the entire City Commission voted in favor of, and the Southeast Chamber of Commerce Executive Board voted to support this initiative and continues to do so. When we applied for the grant, there was close to 200 letters that was written by local businesses that supported this initiative. So my point is you've got some pot stirrers at times out there making comments that aren't actually factual at times. And then there is some legitimate issues out there that have to be overcome. We recognize that, but we're working diligently to make this happen. But if you go back to the ad district study and the studies that have been done since then, those studies show that there is a need, there is ridership, and now there is funding. So we worked very hard to generate $750,000 in federal money that was supported by our legislators on a national level. And then we applied for single county and multi-county money, specifically multi-county through which require resolution through the fiscal court and the Floyd County court. The Floyd County fiscal court passed it unanimously. The Pike County fiscal court passed it by a majority with the support of the county judge, who has always said all along has been a great partner with the city on many different issues, but which we'll talk about a couple here in a moment. But the need for commercial air service to this region. So in doing that, what happened then is that we lost our no, we didn't lose, I apologize. We lost the multi-county grant. But what happened, Jill, is that the coal production went down, the multi-county funds went down, and when that happened, we lost our funding. So the governor, Brashear, committed $1 million to this project because the total subsidy for the flights through charter and corporate flight management is $1,425,000 over a 2-year period. Now, that doesn't mean that they're going to get $1,425,000. Again, for clarity, what that means is that once the service starts, if hypothetically, and I'm using loose numbers because I don't know what those numbers are, but I'm just going to use some examples. There is 19 seats on this plane. If the break even is 10 seats, let's say. After you sell 10 seats, then everything else is profit. Then what happens is if they sell 7 seats, then the subsidy pays for the extra 2 seats that are empty. Okay? So as they fly, but let's say the next week, and let's say every day, 7 days, they flew with 7 passengers and had 2 seats empty, or 2 seats less than where they needed to break even. Then we would pay them through the subsidy, no local funds, through the subsidy that was generated, for those 2 empty seats up to the break-even point. Well, let's say the following week, let's say that the break-even point again is 10 seats, and let's say that they flew with 13 passengers, which means now they had 3 seats that they made profit on. Well, what we do is that we take the 3 seats for profit that made profit, and we subtract that from the 3 seats previously in the previous week that there was a deficit on. So in that 2-week scenario, it would be a break-even, so they wouldn't be entitled to any funds. So if this service is profitable, let's say after the first 12 months, whatever we have spent in the subsidy, hypothetically, let's say again we have $1.4 million in subsidies, and let's say by the first year we've only given them $800,000, and then it's profitable from there forward. That means that that's all they're entitled to is that $800,000. They will not get the remaining part of the subsidy because it's now become profitable. If you go back again and you look at what the county supported and the city supported in again, 2007, 2008, this is the exact same scenario that everybody was in agreement with then. This is a scenario that we're pursuing right now. The problem is that the reason why Air Azul was not successful in Somerset is because you need more than 9 passengers. Because at the 9 passenger point, you're still either losing money or right close to the break-even point. So you need a larger plane to be able to fly in order to make it profitable for the airliners to want to stay in the market, and so that we don't have to keep feeding subsidy. So where we're at right now is that it is understood, pursuant to the study, that there won't be a lot of ridership initially, other than maybe the first spurt because it's new, and then it'll die off a little bit until people get used to coming and utilizing the services. What the study said back again in that area is in order for this to be successful, this market has to wrap its arms around it and utilize the service. So again, I go back to the 200 businesses that wrote letters, 500 businesses that are part of the Southeast Chamber of Commerce that are supporting this plan as of how it's been presented. What we have is a couple of people out there that aren't supporting because of either they don't understand the total facts or for whatever reason necessarily don't want to speak on their behalf. When I say they're not supporting commercial air service, I want to be very clear. That's not what I'm saying. I'm saying that they're not supporting the plan that we have before right now. And that's just, again, when you look back, and what I want to be very clear of is that this isn't just a City of Pikeville Commission initiative. This was the governor of our great state of Kentucky, sitting governor. This is our congressmen. This is our senators. This is 400 or close to 500 businesses. This is 5 members of the airport board out of the 6 that voted or endorsed, in one way or the other, to move this process forward. So that's what we're doing. Now let's go back to the funding scenario. Again, I just mentioned it's $1,425,000 is the cap of the subsidy. We're not committing to anything else. That's what the contract says. So what happens then is $750 of that, again, comes from the federal government. There's the Small Communities Air Grant through the Department of Transportation. The remaining money came through the governor's office. Governor Beshear understood the importance of this. He, along with Congressman Rodgers, stood on stage when we cut the ribbon to move this process forward. So, and what the governor did is he pulled the remaining funds out of the the State Department of Transportation's Aviation Department and out of the Department for Local Government, so that single county and multi-county money that were here for Pike County, which we haven't had a multi-county project, and I don't know if we've ever had one. But again, we will not be utilizing our local funds. These are state funds that would have went to other parts of the state or other parts of the country. So I again just want very clear, it somewhat behooves me to the fact that we are questioning our success, or at least a seed to be planted for our success. And I won't say we're all questioning. It's only a very, very small percentage that is questioning. Who is on board with this is all those people that I'm sitting here telling you. And I cannot tell you how many times I've been stopped in the street saying, when are we ready to fly, when are we ready to fly? The problem came into play over the 139 issue is that we were ready to launch in April. However, the DOT advised against it. They said you can, but it will hamper and possibly slow down the 139 piece. And again, we can fly the 9-passenger, and there's no problem in doing that. And we may still end up doing that in order to get the process off the ground, because to go through the 139 certification process could take 6, 8 weeks or longer. I don't know. I don't want to put something else out there, because obviously that's what happened. It was we put out there that we were flying on April, and it didn't come into play, and it didn't come into play for good reason. Right. It didn't come into play because we want this service to be successful. We need to be able to fly with more than 9 passengers into the future. But the thought is that according to the study, we will probably be flying with less than 9 passengers as it first gets started. So let's go ahead and fly with less than 9 passengers, since that's what's going to be on the plane anyway, to get the process started, giving us time to get through the 139 certification issue. So I've had numerous conversations, along with, again, clearly stated, along with the chamber and Luke Schmidt, who is our consultant, Bill Hickman, who is the airport board chairman. There's been different conversations that has taken place that to make sure that we know where we're heading. I have shared that information each time. We've given either a press release, or I have called our local paper to explain to them where we're at. So we have talked about this in work sessions at the City Commission meeting, which is open to the public. We've been very, very transparent where we stand and why we are there. So I just want the public to know we are working diligently to bring this service into play. Now, one of the other interesting facts that I'll just throw out there too is back in the 2007, 2008, which what everybody wrapped their arms around is that there also had to be improvements to the airport to be able to bring commercial air service to this region. And one of the major wins that I commend the chairman, Bill Hickman, on, Bill, this is an unpaid position. Bill's a local attorney. He serves his community. And what Bill was able to do was to get on the phone with the FAA. And one of the major issues is the lack of a taxiway running parallel with the runway. And I'm not an aviation expert, don't claim to be. That's why we have experts that are telling us and have to lead us. But Bill was able to get on there and to work through a grant process that the rest of the board approved. But Bill took the initial steps, and that was a $3 million grant that was awarded to this community that, whether commercial air service or not, it will always be there, that promotes safety and improves the overall airport. But when you go back to the study said that those are the type of improvements that would have to take place, and it would be millions of dollars of investment. Since that time, those investments have taken place. So I commend, again, the vision, I certainly, and I want it clearly understood, I'm not chastising anybody, even those that didn't vote for this. They have, that's why they're on the board. They have a right not to vote for something if they don't agree with it. But but again, the same respect is given to the 5 that did vote for it, or the 6 or the 5 members of the City Commission, or the Chamber of Commerce that did vote for it, or the thousands of people out there that uses commercial air service for their transportation means that would like to see this service in our community. All the pieces are in place right now. We have upgrades to the airport. We have federal and state funding, no local match for the subsidy aspect of it. We have a provider. We have a marketing piece of this. We have a plane. We have a pilots. We have everything's in place. The only thing that we're waiting on now is for the federal government to sign off on the 139. Hopefully that'll be taken care of sooner than later. But what I can say is through discussions this week and discussions that have occurred through Congressman Rogers' office with some folks with the DOT in D.C., that there is a spirit of cooperation because Washington, not just Congressman Rogers, but the DOT and the FAA, they understand the importance of this. Obviously so, because they awarded $750,000 to make it happen. Right. So they understand the importance of this and what it means to Eastern Kentucky, and they are working diligently to get through, for lack of better words, the red tape to get us to where we're in the air. And we would, again, very clear, we could have flown with 9 seats. We decided not to do that to make sure that if we do decide to fly with only 9 seats in the future, that we have a path to get to the 19-seater. We just want to know what that time frame is so that we're not flying too long, because if what happens, if we're still capped with 9 seats and we got 12 people wanting to fly, then we've hindered ourselves. And we're trying to make the best decisions that we possibly can with the facts as they have been presented. There's a lot more to this, but I just wanted to give a very clear understanding that there's great and due respect out there for everybody's opinion. That's what politics and that's what government and that's what the people's voice is. If everybody agreed with everything, then we would be lost, I assure you.
Well, we will certainly keep everyone updated as
Absolutely.
The developments do take place, as we have for the better part of a year now. But everything does have to fall into place, and there is always red tape that has to be gone through. But we certainly, as you mentioned too, we don't want to put a date on it just yet. But soon we will have information.
Well, that's a very good point, and I don't want to belabor this issue. But let me go back to the another project that's not on the things I'm sure we're going to talk about today, but the retail development. It amazes me at times to where how many people will draw a conclusion without knowing all the facts. And I'm not saying everybody. This community's been overwhelmingly wrapping their arms around all the great things that are happening, but you have some naysayers out there at times. And it took almost 3 years to get through the red tape of buying the post office before the developer could actually get to work. It just takes time, and there's roadblocks at times. When you're dealing with so many different agencies, and with the commercial air service piece, that's the problem, is you're dealing with, or part of the problem, is you're dealing with so many different partners, DOT, FAA, TSA. You're dealing with 3 different offices, or 2 different offices, whether you're in Atlanta or DC with the FAA. You've got TSA, Louisville and DC. And then you tie into that the 2 providers that are needed with corporate flight management and charter, and then you bring it back to the different partners that are here. There's just a lot of hurdles to get over. It's not just a matter of signing a piece of paper and say, okay, we're ready to do this. Same thing happened with the retail development. People were patient. We took our time. We made the right decisions, and we got a $44 million investment taking place, breaking ground, and dirt is moving that will create jobs, better quality life, and a lot of interest.
Structures are in place now. I was down by there yesterday, as a matter of fact, and they were putting brick on a building, and that was very exciting to me. And then you saw the other storefronts that were beginning to take shape with the metal and everything. So just like that, now it's happening. Air service will be no different, so
Amen.
We will keep everybody abreast of the situation. Now, coming up, another huge event that is always on everybody's mind. It's a week later this year, but I think that's a good idea. Easter is this weekend, the Thursday before where we're taping here. Next week, the Hillbilly Nation will invade Pikeville and Pike County, and it is one of the most fun weeks I think that we have. We were discussing before we began our session today that it can be a very stressful time for those that are organizing because they want everything to be the right way and everyone to be accommodated. And we have so many people that come in from out of the area. This year, we're hoping and praying for good weather, but the great thing about this festival is it started with the Shriners helping children. It is no different now. It is just on a much bigger scale,
Amen.
and it will kick off next Thursday.
Yeehaw.
A week from today.
I can't wait. Funnel cakes and corn dogs. They're going to
Deep
die.
fried Oreos.
Deep fried, and Twinkies. I'm with you.
Pickles. We could go on and on about the food booths.
Yeah, I'm hungry now.
I know. It's about lunchtime, too, when we're recording here. But the thing about Hillbilly Days is there's something for everyone.
Amen.
And people for years have, when they were younger, they came to Hillbilly Days when it first started, or maybe they were in high school. Now they're bringing back their kids. And it really is a homecoming of sorts for so many people, as many of our festivals are throughout the region. But let's start with Thursday. Vendors, crafts, everything in the free world, music.
You're right. I mean, really the festival starts Wednesday, and I'm going to throw that in there first, Jill,
It does start Wednesday. I should have said Wednesday.
Well, and the reason I say Wednesday is because, again, this doesn't get said often enough, but I want to really give a heartwarming thanks and a salute of appreciation to the Southeast Chamber and all the volunteers, all the businesses that volunteer their time for what I would describe as a jacked up jigsaw puzzle. Because when you see all these vendors coming in at one time and how they're staged and how they're positioned and how organized over the years that this event has become to put those pieces of the puzzle into place and make them fit, it's amazing to me. I really enjoy Wednesday just to kind of watch it all happen.
It is like a well-oiled machine, I will say that. I even know that 2 months ago, I was with someone and we were down on the streets measuring booth space, and that is something that people don't realize. Everything has to be to a certain scale. You're allowed so much space, depending on the amount of trailers or, especially for the food vendors, the big cooktops that they bring in. So everything has to be positioned the right way, although we know our town is obviously big enough to handle it. When you have a lot of people coming in, you still need more space. Well,
and that's the amazing of, not to bore people with the logistics, but a lot of work happens prior to the event over the year. The chamber sends out the packets. They get their logging people each year as of who's going to be there. Then they have to determine the size, to your point. Then they have to look at what power is needed for different type of booths. Have to have a higher amperage than some of the smaller booths, so they got to fit them in that puzzle just right. Once they show up, they got different staging areas, and then the police department kicks in of making sure all the traffic. We put up signs beforehand letting people know that the streets have to be cleared, and unfortunately in times we've had to tow a few people, but we try to do that with respect, but it never fails. Then the vendors come in. Once they're set up, then the fire department kicks in, because then the fire department has to go and inspect every single booth to give them a certification that they're safe and ready to operate. Once we get past that piece, then it's usually about 10 or 11 o'clock at night. With the fire department, sometimes it's even later. UMG has to come in and hook up the water to each one of the booths to turn the water on. AEP and the Chamber's electrician has worked over the past several weeks. You'll see all the electrical boxes. It's all over town. So for the second largest festival in the state, that's all the preliminary stuff that has to take place before you even open the doors on Thursday for all the music and all the fun and the booths and the expo center, the concert, and the fireworks and the carnival. The carnival actually comes into town on Sunday night. They start setting up first thing Monday morning. So we also have to make sure the river field is completely cleared Sunday night. So we put up barricades for that.
You saw me looking around. We had a pamphlet last time we were here, and I was looking around to see if we still had that. We do not, but we do want to mention there are so many different areas of downtown that you can find live music. The courthouse, the Billy Johnson stage at the Expo Center. I believe there's one other stage.
Well, you've got the Billy Johnson stage. You've got, to your point, the courthouse stage. You've got the City Park. You've got the Pepsi stage.
The Pepsi stage at the City Park. Those are the two.
And then over the last couple of years, the Methodist Church has had a stage, and also our new restaurant downtown Bank 253.
They're having a sound stage.
They have a
this
sound
year.
stage.
Yeah, it will be behind the building itself, and that's going to provide a lot of fun. So there's an opportunity all day long to hear live music, and certainly in Eastern Kentucky and around our region, we love our music, and a lot of those stages showcase local talent.
Well, that's what I was going to say, is that it's amazing at not only the local talent, but all the different genres that are played. You've got everything from, depending upon which area that you go, the Pepsi stage last year, they had the contest that was aired.
The Nashville,
Yeah.
the local, the young ladies that
Thank
were
you.
from here, and I can't remember the name of the show, it escapes me, but they competed that day.
Absolutely. I had a couple nieces that actually competed. That I was very proud of. But just having all those different types of activity, and I looked this morning at the long range, the weather forecast, and they're looking for 80 degrees and sunny 2 of the days, a little bit of chance of rain. In the 10 years I've been doing this, for 11th year now, we've had rain at least one day each year, but we've been very blessed with good weather. And today is, or this event hopefully will be no different. So a lot of great things.
Something I do want to address too, a lot of people have said because the event was pushed back a week this year because of Easter weekend and different events that were going on, some have said there wouldn't be the same vendors or as many vendors, but that's really not the case. Every year that happens. There are people who return, and there are people who have been here for years that can't come that year. So it really hasn't been that big of an issue.
Well, you're absolutely right. There is some fewer vendors, but what they've always had in the past, Jill, is a waiting list of different vendors that wanted to come, but they couldn't because they just didn't have enough room for them. Right. So, this is, by it being pushed back a week, some of the vendors that you may see here also had other commitments. Obviously, it being Easter weekend, the festival, we didn't want to have the festival during that time. So it'll all work out. Trust me, there'll be plenty of food there, plenty of events.
Yeah, and look at this. Ask and you shall receive.
I see you have a sample.
Just appeared all of a sudden. You can pick this up at the Pike County Tourism Office there at the Hampton Inn. But if you haven't seen these are our Hillbilly Days brochures for this year. Perfect example of why we do the festival on the front. You can see her there. Absolute doll baby. It is going to kick off the 24th. Let me just run down some different things that people may not know about. Now, you say we get the carnival on Wednesday, and then Thursday through Saturday the carnival, of course, arts and crafts and vittles. Our food. The Coca-Cola Cornhole Tournament. Now, this is something that has grown and grown over the last, I think it's been 3 years now that we've done this.
Yes.
3 or 4 years. Hillbilly degree work. If you need to get your finest hillbilly lingo down, they can help you there. Quilt check-in on Thursday, music, of course. The fireworks show at dark on Thursday from Appalachian Wireless. Yes. And then something that everyone really needs to take time to attend, and we've talked about this before, the Hillbilly Breakfast on Friday morning.
Oh my gosh, yes. If you want some good country victuals,
right.
homemade country cooking, come on down to the Masonic Lodge, and they do an absolutely unbelievable job.
They
Good
certainly
stuff.
do. All day Friday, vendors, music, entertainment. I'm trying to see something that's different. Oh, the Run for the Children, Saturday morning. We have talked at length about so many different groups getting together to do runs for causes. We have the Run for Children. That registration will start at 8 a.m. on Saturday morning. Then the Hillbilly Parade, 2 o'clock, always a lot of fun. And then capping it all off, Old Crow Medicine Show and Marty Stewart.
The Marty party is coming.
More perfect. It's true. And as people have been mentioning Hillbilly Days this year and the different people that we've had over the last few years for the Hillbilly Days concert, there's always a great act here. This year is no different. If you have never experienced Old Crow Medicine Show, you really need to be there because it is a hodgepodge of everything. Talked to Ketch Secor. He's one of the founding members. Very excited about coming back into town. Spoke to him yesterday. And Marty Stewart has one of the biggest followings. People that you don't really hear a lot about him anymore. But if you're a Marty Stewart fan, it's for life. Certainly is.
Well, I am, and I was, and
proud member.
A proud member of the clan that follows Marty. But I remember, I can't remember how long ago, 15 years ago or so, he was at the Kentucky State Fair and couldn't wait to get my tickets, and was right there and involved in the Marty party.
Now, if you start dressing like him, we may have to talk a little bit.
I think I'm okay there, Jill.
But if you need a schedule of events for all things Hillbilly Days, 38 years now. 38
Amazing.
years, hard to believe. You can pick those up at the Pike County Tourism Office. And they have a website too, hillbillydays.com. You can find out all about Shady Grady Stratton and Grady Kinney and Dirty Ear Stratton, some of our founding members. So do that. Hillbilly Day is going to be a lot of fun.
Amen.
Something else that's a lot of fun, and we've heard a lot about, and excited to get this opened, is the museum.
Oh my gosh, absolutely, Jill. A lot of good things have taken place. We'll educate the public a little bit. Was real excited. Probably come out in a story, I would say, this weekend. But both the fiscal court, it's another show of a collaborative effort of the city and the county working together towards a great project. The mayor and the county judge met this week at the museum and sat down for an official signing of the new organization. So there's some pictures that will be released, I think, in this weekend's newspaper, in the News Express, with a press release. But what's happening, and I'm going to get this right because this is, if I don't pull out notes, Jill, I'm in trouble.
Anytime you start to refer to the notes, we know it's going to be exact.
Well, and what happened is again, the fiscal court voted to adopt the bylaws and to create a joint organization, as the city commission did, in moving the museum forward. But more than just a museum, in protecting our heritage, what we've discussed all along, and how the story first came out was that the museum was closing. And as we kept saying, no, it's not closing. What we're doing is we're working with the county to find an alternate location so that because the museum itself has outgrown its space, and the commission truly believes in the vision of what the museum does for this community. So the original museum board was set up as a city board only, but as we discussed with the county, a lot of the artifacts come from the region and in the county and not just the city, and that we need to have representation that represents both the city and the county, and we need to find a location that is more conducive to what we want to do, and obviously more room, because there's a lot of great and neat artifacts in the museum. So I'm honored to announce, I guess, that both the fiscal court and the city has taken official action, and the judge and the mayor met jointly. Really neat. As I watched them sign, it was really neat because they were in the museum and with the table set up, and what they had was a new Hatfield and McCoy display that has the two mannequins were directly behind them. So it was a great photo. I loved it. The presentation. But with that, not only the bylaws were signed, but also the board was then set up. So the board will actually have its first meeting next week. It is scheduled for the 23rd at noon, assuming that a quorum will be there. What we're doing right now is waiting because this is the initial startup of the board. Once we determine that a full quorum will be there, then the official announcement will go out to the media as a startup meeting for the museum joint board. The new board is called the Hatfield and McCoy Pikeville, Pike County Museum Board, and we've got the board has expanded to trying to think, 9 members. I had to count them. For the city of Pikeville, Mayor Justice has appointed, and Judge Rutherford has affirmed Jessica Forsythe. Jessica was very involved, a young lady that was very involved in the museum under its current status, so we asked her to serve, and she accepted. So you've got Jessica Forsythe, Rusty Justice. A lot of folks know Rusty. Rusty is a great historian, loves history, and
really is.
So very honored that he accepted. Reed Potter, another historian. So he's accepted, and he's the city's the mayor's appointee affirmed by the county judge. For the Pike County Fiscal Court, the judge appointed with the affirmation of the mayor, Charlene Hopkins. Most folks know her from the library. Randall Osborne, who has served on this board for some time, is a great historian, loves history, and has agreed to come back and serve on the joint board. So we're honored to have him. Larry Thacker, a lot of folks know him from Thacker Funeral Services. So Larry's done some work in the past with genealogy and history. So again, another great appointment. That is the city and the county's appointments. What the judge and the mayor wanted to do was also include some other agencies, because the museum also has an educational value to it, and it also has a tourism value to it. We want to bring tourists in to show off our heritage, but we also want to preserve the history and educate our youth to the area. So the University of Pikeville was given a seat on the board. Gary Justice has been appointed by the President Hurley to serve, and then from Pikeville Tourism, Andy Linton, who is with the East Kentucky Expo Center, and for Pike County Tourism, Bob Scott, which a lot of folks know Bob from the Hatfield McCoy Tours.
Yes.
So that is the lineup, the 9 members that have been officially appointed and that will serve their community. Again, they're meeting for the first time. They'll meet actually where the new location will be, which is on the 4th floor of the old Hall of Justice, or the Hall of Justice, which is now the Pike County Annex building, up in the old Circuit Court room, which is up on the 4th floor. That'll be the new location. So they're the organizational meeting will be some comments by myself and Judge Rutherford, and then they will elect officers, and then they will talk about what their mission is, which right off will be to move the artifacts, to put them in a way that they can be stored, labeled, and moved, and then go through the refurbishing process of the floor up there that will be remodeled. Again, the county has some funds that they had found in an old coal severance line item. The City Commission has vowed $10,000 to restructure and remodel. And then the county will also be providing some labor, and then we'll be providing some labor to help move and some equipment to help move the artifacts over. So it's a great initiative, new and improved. The museum, we hope, will be open by either late spring, early summer. Good, again, another great project, joint initiative.
Great use of the former courtroom.
Amen.
For sure. Now, we have some things on here concerning our VFW post and the City Commission and people receiving keys to the city. I'm going to let you just tell us all about that, because it's a very, very good thing to discuss.
Well, I think it is. It's an honor for me to work with the VFW post 3769, which is a post here in Pikeville. They came to us, and the problem that they had was they didn't have a location. They needed a place, and basically what they do a lot of different things, but the thing that really is near and dear to our hearts is they work with our local veterans to make sure that they are getting the support that they need financially from our government, medical, whatever. They work with them hand in hand, which is how that the VFW, or why the VFW was actually originated. They came to the City Commission, asking the City Commission for help, and the commission absolutely jumped right in, and we, if you go to City Hall, directly behind City Hall, there's a house that came with the property that we acquired. We have taken and a large area of that house and have remodeled it a little bit for them, and that is now their headquarters. So if you pull into the parking lot behind City Hall, you'll see over on the house there's a big sign on the wall that shows you that that's where they're located with the VFW 3769. Now, we're working with them on a couple of different issues. One, we were very honored, and I want to make sure I get the names right, but for the first time ever, the VFW Commander-in-Chief, which is Bill Thine, came to Kentucky, and more importantly, came to Pikeville, and then of course the Kentucky Commander Joel Stinnerbaum also came. So we had the Kentucky commander, and then the commander-in-chief for the whole organization came to the city to honor the commission and the new chapter, or I won't say new chapter, but the refurbished chapter because of the new location, to honor them. So I am, on my lapel right here, I am very proudly displaying the anchor from the commander-in-chief. This is something that only he is allowed to pass out, but he passed it out. Myself, Mayor Justice, and Mayor Pro Tem Jimmy Carter, all three attended the ceremony held at the Expo Center yesterday, and of course I'm sure that will be in the press also. The mayor, in return, he and Mayor Pro Tem Carter presented both the Commander-in-Chief and the Kentucky Commander keys to the city, welcoming them to our community. So not only have we been able to provide them a space, because, Jill, these men and women that have served our country over the years deserves to be treated with respect and deserves their local government's full attention to help in any way we possibly can. So not only has the commission committed to that, but what they've also done is we signed a letter of intent a couple of weeks ago to establish a war monument memorial. And what this will be is to honor those veterans that have perished in whatever different wars and conflicts over the years. The location of that, if you are familiar now as you go down towards Bob Amos Park where the welcome sign is, and the new fire station is being built. So the Pikeville Gateway sign and the fire station, there's a grassy area there. We will be putting a monument there. Ironically, Larry McGoy, who is the city's tourism commissioner, or tourism director, excuse me, served 30 years in the military, served his country proud and was in leadership. And one of his last assignments was he was over the government surplus of vehicles, the very vehicles that we are now trying to get here in our community for this memorial. So with old tanks, helicopters, ATVs, et cetera. So we're working with them to bring some of these vehicles in to set up a monument to honor our veterans in a way that is very fitting.
Excellent. Will be something to see, and we'll talk more about that. One of the things I do want to mention, and you do have it on the list, but I don't think we talk about it enough, is our Main Street Board of Directors that have really, really worked so diligently on restoring our downtown area, working with businesses. Minta Trimble does an outstanding job with her efforts to take local businesses to help them revamp maybe the outside of their building or their storefront, but still keep it with the way that they would like things to be. And it's a really, when you walk down our street, you see evidence of that. And they were just certified, and national certified, one of only 22 in the state?
State of Kentucky. Again, the commission Monday honored both the Pikeville Police Department, and there was a segment coming out on Pike TV with that. I don't think it's on our list to discuss, but I'm spinning off of this back to Main Street, but one of the very few departments in the state of Kentucky that went through a year and a half of completely revamping the police department in order to achieve becoming a state accredited department. And the Chief Reed, I gave him 2 years to complete it. He did it in little over a year. He and his staff did an absolutely unbelievable job, and we're very honored for that accomplishment. The commission honored the chief with a plaque, and the department with some lapel pins, and at being an accredited department. And some plaques to the individuals that participated as well. The Main Street was the same way. The commission was honored the Main Street program. The Main Street program has evolved over the past several years, Jill. The Main Street program this year, typically what they do is the Main Street has a conference, and they honor the individuals during the conference, but they took a little different spin this year. Greg Potts with the Heritage Council and Kitty with the State Main Street program came in, and instead of going at a conference, which is usually somewhere else, they brought the awards to present them to the governmental agency that supports the Main Street program, to the City Commission. So the Pikeville Main Street program won statewide for their facade program, which is on Division Street. So we were honored with the Main Street program for their work for the facade program, and then in return, the state recognized Minta was presented with a plate, beautiful plate that's Kentucky made, for her work and the Main Street Board's work and the City Commission's support for the Main Street program, and Pikeville being a state certified program, but also, as you just mentioned, a national Main Street program, which is a great honor, only 22 in the state of Kentucky. So when you look at the reason I brought up both the police department and the Main Street program, we are on the top of the heap. Again, two great, as Pikeville typically is, being honored as some of the best programs in the nation. Minta was honored as the Main Street director, and then in return, the Pikeville City Commission presented each Main Street board member with a plaque for their service and for their accomplishment of both state and being recognized by both on a state and national level. So it was a great presentation Monday to honor, and again, we don't say enough, and I wish I had the list in front of me. I should have brought it.
We'll do that another time.
We'll do that.
We will.
Of all the Main Street board members that volunteer their time and their efforts to create events like Main Street Live, to clean up their downtown area, all the facade program, I mean, they're just so many great and wonderful things, and these are all volunteers, with the financial support of the City Commission, has really transformed our downtown into something we're very, very proud of.
And they are really getting ready to kick up the momentum, because when spring comes and summer, Main Street Live, you mentioned, I was just thinking about that, they are the driving force behind those wonderful series of concerts that we see throughout the summer, and undoubtedly there will be more things to come from them, because they really do have the biggest interest in making the downtown area the very, very best it can be. So look for great things from the Main Street Board.
Amen.
A lot of new things that are coming. We want to talk about the optometry school. Will start around September or October.
Construction start. I met with the President Hurley and they had their consultant group in, and they're planning their building. So, there's a lot of things that's pivotal for our community, as I mentioned earlier, that's growing. A lot of announcements that will be made. Hopefully, a new announcement with our partnership with Alltech will be made next month. There is a event that is actually held in Lexington that we think by then that some announcements will be made. But on top of that, the School of Optometry, which will change again our downtown landscape, commend the UPike board and James Hurley and President Hurley and his leadership for bringing in yet another state-of-the-art institution. So this is really, really good stuff. And then on top of that, while we're on UPike, yesterday there was a press conference at the Burling-Coleman School of Business. And being the managing director for Pride, it kind of played all hand in hand because this actually came out of a SOAR initiative. Had a Pride conference call earlier this morning, so Pride's on my mind. But through the SOAR initiative, but the UPike announced their Innovation Network announcement that they're creating a Pikeville Innovation Center. The state granted $175,000 towards this initiative, with the university's commitment to raise another $175,000 to match this. And the purpose of the Innovation Center, which will be located in the technical library for the university there, they'll be located there, is to help young entrepreneurs and small businesses to create innovative programs and assistance to help get them off the ground in Eastern Kentucky. So another major milestone for the university and for this community and for the region. Again, piggyback off of SOAR, we had the Secretary of the Economic Development here, Larry Hayes, was here yesterday with the commissioner making that announcement and presentation for the university. So, it was really great for us, the city commission sitting in the background looking at the old City Hall building and now seeing how the university is utilizing this building. They were honored and understood the importance of bringing a business college to the city, because without the business college, again, the optometry school would have been difficult to get, because the optometrists also need how to apply business practice, and they all kind of went hand in hand. So our relationship right now, Jill, with the university has never been stronger. My friendship with President Hurley has never been stronger. We've got a couple of other major initiatives we're working on together that hopefully will be announced here in the very near future. So a lot of great things with just the university going on.
Next item on the list, I know we attended the opening of the new clinic building at Pikeville Medical Center. That was last week, and the parking structure that is 1 mile from the base to the top. If you drive all the way up, I have done that. It is a mile. But another great day. So many people on hand to witness the opening of that magnificent facility. I mean, it really is beyond state of the art, because everything is brand new. All of the doctors are going to be housed in one location, and you're going to be able to park at the hospital, which is something that has been an issue in the past, because as you grow, you have to take land, and so now instead of expanding out, we're going up.
Well, our topography requires us to do that at times, but again, I commend Walter May, their executive board, and all the employees of the hospital for another great milestone reached. We had the opportunity of, which we've had some opportunity along the ways to see this facility take place, but it's a sense of pride for the community, because again, people are now coming to us for their services, but it also, with what the vision of the hospital has and what they've done, is you're able to get quality health care here at home now without having to travel abroad. Also making it convenient by putting all these doctors in one facility, the convenience of being able to get off the floor that you're parking on and walk into whatever floor you need to. I mean, it's just so many wonderful, wonderful, wonderful amenities that have served this community, and they had a list of, and I sit back and smile, because obviously the city had a small part in that, working with the commission, working with Walter and the hospital on the funding, because they had to have a governmental agency in order to be able to get the funding. So we were more than happy to do that and work with them on some other logistical issues. But as I looked at the wall, and of all the different people that helped, both employees and my son's name was on there. He works over there in the IT department. So again, it's just a great sense of pride of seeing who all is connected to this great institution and what they've done for this region, this community, and specifically this town.
Well, I think as community members and living here for years, or I've lived here for 12 years. You've been here most of your life.
Yep.
But when you as a child, I can remember Pikeville Medical Center, Pikeville Methodist Hospital at that point, and how it's grown. And to be here in this community now, you really have to take a lot of pride in what's being developed there.
Well, I mean, absolutely. My sister was born up on the hill, and then when the Miners building was built, and then the second building, and the third building, and the fourth, and parking garage. I mean, it's just, it's amazing to see the transformation of the hospital and what it means to this region. And again, when you tie in the hospital and the university's growth and all the growth that the city's got going on, you throw in Main Street, you throw in a top-rate police department. I mean, and then all the tourism initiatives that we've got that we're getting ready to launch, and it has launched. I mean, it's the total scope in the last 10 years that I've served on this commission has completely changed. Throw in the retail development, the new library that's going on. I mean, Jill, the community is changing. Even in a down economic term because of the coal industry, but there's a lot of things, and working with companies like Alltech that will bring diversity to the region, hopefully create many new jobs and many new opportunities. So we're extremely happy and proud with where we're heading.
We want to touch on some expo events coming up really quickly before we run out of time. We mentioned the Hillbilly Days concert, April 26th, Old Crow Medicine Show, along with Marty Stewart going to be here. Also, just announced TNA Impact Wrestling World Tour. Going to be in town May 30th. Tickets will go on sale for that actually tomorrow.
Yes,
the 18th.
Tomorrow.
The 18th of April. And of course, we mentioned Hillbilly Days. City Hall will be closed tomorrow for Good Friday.
Right.
Absolutely.
Some of us will be working, but
and another big event going on tomorrow night concerning Easter, and I know we will. Some of the times when you see this, it'll already happened. But the community egg drop that is put on by Trinity Harvest Church, 40,000 Easter eggs will be dropped on Bob Amos Park tomorrow night.
Though we're closed tomorrow, some of us will be working. The city is obviously the church has done a wonderful job with this. We're happy to partner with them this year, and it's going to be another outstanding year. And I say some of us are working because the police department, fire department never sleep. They're always working. Some of the officials, we like getting out to support the event. So this is going to be another great event for the community. Really excited about.
Certainly will be. And then of course, EKB, we have our Easter extravaganza in the city park. In the city park, there will be a cakewalk, the Easter Bunny pictures, scavenger hunt, all that fun stuff. So stop by and see us there. Don't forget the horse Miss Betty's Dream Stables at Bob Amos Park. If you have not been there, you've got to make it a point to stop by. Well,
we got river trails, horse trails, riding trails, all that kicks off either now or the first of next month. You can visit our website, www.visitpikeville.com or tourpikecounty.com. Either site will lead you to all the different activities and all the different events that's going on in and around the community. I will, real quick, Jill, before I forget about it, we'll announce another great partnership that we have and grant that we received through the Department of Transportation for a traffic light that will be replaced. So right after Hillbilly Days, the first of the month, there'll be a little congestion on Hamley Boulevard, but there at the bottom of the 99, the old wooden traffic poles that have been up for years that we've tried to get rid of, we were successful in working with the Commissioner of and Secretary of Transportation in a grant that where their local department will be replacing those with some really nice steel poles, really going to clean up that area. So just telling the folks out there to be careful and watch out for that. Be patient, yeah, we'll get through it.
Lots of great things happening. Now, the next time that we will be together will be after Hillbilly Days, so we'll have some great pictures of the events that take place. We always love doing that. But for a complete listing of everything going on in the city, visit Pikeville.com or tourpikecounty.com. Don't forget, stop by the tourism office, pick up your Hillbilly Days brochure. You want to know everything that's going on so you can mark your calendar. And when we visit the next time,
mark your calendar, May 22nd, the thumping you hear next door.
That's right.
They'll be having their opening house. Jenny Wiley Theater.
May 22nd. Look for that. We'll be here before we know it. Jonathan, lots of information covered today. As always, really, really great things going on in our city. And we will update everybody the next time we see each other.
Sounds great.
All right. This has been the Pikeville City Manager's Report. Have a great day.